episode of Salmon's Pizzeria, your very own tasty slice of Scottish football. Joining me this evening is, of course, Ethan Hampton from Dens Park Choir and the lovely Innes Burns. How are we doing tonight, gents?
Good.
I'm over the moon, thanks.
Still riding the high.
Ethan's on cloud 9.
Honestly, this full podcast, we had kind of thought about it. We did consider just letting Ethan go rogue on Sunday, but then we decided that we might get pulled from YouTube and banned for some certain hearty words. But we're here now that Ethan's somewhat calmed down a little bit, but I think we might as well just jump right in. Dundee, Ethan, why tell us what happened there?
Oh, gladly, man. So I don't even know where to start. Obviously, I filmed the preview with Alex going into the game, and he predicted I think a semi-comfortable victory for United, and I was predicting a draw. I was expecting an anticlimactic draw, and I thought to myself that if we were going to win at Tannadice, the first time I'm going to see it, it's going to come when it's not expected, and that at least turned out true. I changed up my pre-match rituals. I got the away shirt for this season, and I wore an away shirt to Tannadice for a change. I'm normally in dark blue, so that'll be a trend that sticks after Sunday, I think it's safe to say. Well, yeah, no, it was just absolutely mad. Dundee just came flying up the traps. They were out there. They smelt the vulnerabilities with United. United were very uncharacteristically shit. They're quite a well organised team this season. They're quite rigid, hard to break down. They were none of that on Sunday. They were vulnerable. Dundee kept having a go at them. They just didn't really seem to be able to cope. And I said it off air as well that if you went back to when Dundee last took 6 off United, if there was VAR in about that game, the scoreline does not happen the same way. You obviously have Danny Johnson had a goal that should have stood that was scored early on. That was disallowed wrongfully. Then I think they scored from a corner that was never a corner. So obviously with that kind of tech, things change. Whereas now it's quite funny. It's the opposite. Had there been no VAR on Sunday, Dundee would have run out that game as 6-2 winners. With the 2 disallowed goals that weren't picked up at first glance from the linesman. So yeah, when that second disallowed goal went in though, and I thought it was 4-1 up, I was just complete euphoria, going absolutely nuts. That's the best I felt a football game for a long time. And long time coming, 21-year streak put to an end. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, it was an overrated streak anyway, because 13 years of those we never really played each other, and it only amounted to about 13 games, and in a league where you play everyone 4 times, it only really amounts to something like 3 seasons, 3.5 seasons maybe. So yeah, good to know that
21 years since Dundee last won at Tannadice.
Yeah, 2004 was the last time Dundee won at Tannadice.
What?
But here's why that maybe sounds worse than it is, right? Because in 2004, when Dundee last won at Tannadice, they drew the following derby at Tannadice, and then they got relegated, and there was a 7-year absence. So technically, from that point on, Dundee were then 7 years unbeaten at Tannadice, despite playing 1 game after that victory. When they came back in the league after Rangers got liquidated, in 2012, 10 days to prepare for an SPL season with a First Division squad. The opening game of the season for us was at Tannadice. We got beat. So suddenly that 7-year unbeaten at Tannadice turns to, it's been 8 years since they last won, and it snowballed into something much bigger than it should have been. So like I said, its stats can be manipulated sometimes. In saying that, it's still a long time going. I've seen Dundee teams go there, play very well, but never get over the line. So it's just great now that monkey's off the back, because I felt the press made a big deal about it every time I go there. So now it's like, the teams that would go had to share the sins of Dundee teams past, whereas now that monkey's off the back, and the next time we go there, it's a weight off the shoulders.
You could be a spin doctor for Dundee, Ethan.
Yeah, no, listen, I could be many things for Dundee right now. I'm the top fucking cheerleader. That was just so good. Not just to go there and win, but like to batter them the way we did. That first half was just so comprehensive. And I mean, credit to Glenn Middleton as well. I was roasting the absolute shit out of him when we beat them in the Scottish Cup. I actually laughed at him as he was leaving Dens Park. He was in his Range Rover driving away. I made a point of pointing my finger at him and laughing out loud, and he definitely seen it. So he scores a screamer. Wasn't enough though, but fair play. He was one of the few that kind of were half productive on the day. But yeah, no, I mean, you watch the goals. A lot of the goals they're very good individually. Jordan McGee's first one. Jenna, you're going to absolutely fucking love him at Motherwell. I'm going to be heartbroken. He's taken both goals like a top tier striker would. a diving header where he has to align his back properly to adjust to the cross that's coming in from behind. Nails it in the corner. The second one, he's just inside the box, maybe 18 yards out from goal, curled it into the corner. Scott Tiffany, obviously, massive screamer for the second. Nothing
Yep.
Jack Walker could have done about that. Butterfingers. And then, yeah, from that point, I just kind of felt Dundee were in a bit of cruise control. But in saying that, when Trapanovsky scored early in the second half, I did think to myself, if any team is going to go up here and fuck up a 3-1 lead and come out without winning, it was going to be us. But surely enough, we stayed steadfast, got there in the end, and Simon Murray at the end, that's just the icing, the cherry on top of the icing of the cake. That's an iconic celebration for an iconic derby, 10 out of 10, no notes. Adebayor, fucking have that for your dinner. And yeah, I'm still, as you say, I'm still buzzing. I'm still on cloud nine. I don't really know what else there really is to say. Just writing up the feelings right now and winding up a lot of my friends.
To be fair, the Dens Park Choir Twitter feed has made some beautiful viewing over the past couple of days, so I'll give you that one, Ethan. Relish in it, because I know I was the exact same whenever we got a result over Archie, so I get it. And obviously, Anish, you'll know that as well from whenever you guys get a decent result against Hearts as well.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, probably the last thing I probably should state in regards to the derby would be, because a lot of people didn't see the result coming. So it takes a lot of pressure off the players and the manager going in towards the end of the season, because obviously it was a really bad run. I think it was 7 defeats or 8 games that'll win, something like that. So yeah, great result for Dundee. Hopefully it's a turning point in the season. But big up Joe Shaughnessy, club captain. He got injured last season just before we went into the split, and he's been out the entirety of this campaign because he ruptured his ACL. He only made his comeback as a cameo against Airdrie in the Scottish Cup. Only got about 6 minutes. Then he came on as a sub against Motherwell, got about 20 minutes, played a hand in our goal. Obviously, it wasn't enough. But he made enough of an impact that we thought, right, yeah, we need him straight back in this team. Following game, St Johnstone, and then Hearts, you can see that there was improvement when he was on the park. Especially Hearts, he scores the equalising goal for us. But that was by far, to come back from such a massive injury, and he obviously would have had his doubters, because I think at the point when he got injured, he was maybe off the boil a little bit. He was the best player in the park. That was his best game for Dundee, I think, by an absolute country mile. That's a presentation on leadership, taking command of the situation, throwing himself, leading, setting the standards, leading by example. He didn't even just keep Sam Dalby in his back pocket, the league's joint top goal scorer in his back pocket. He kept him in the fucking, that phantom zone from Superman, where they're trapped in the mirror and tossed away. That was where Sam Dalby was at. Yeah, because Shaughnessy just absolutely just strolled it. Got to big him up. Man of the match, and rightfully so.
There definitely was one for watching, but obviously yourselves weren't the only derby game this weekend. We can't have a football podcast and not talk about the Old Firm game. We're just going to come out and say it. Obviously Rangers end up winning 3-2 in the end, but the celebration has got everyone up in arms. What do you guys think about it? Is it a police matter? Was it acid in that water bottle? Let's talk about it. What do you think?
It's absolute nonsense, that, honestly. Like, a Celtic fan should be embarrassed that that's even a thing, genuinely. Like, come on. Like, for all the sort of glory that the derby brought, Glasgow was becoming a social media meme derby without the away fans. It was becoming a little bit embarrassing. The Dundee derby and Edinburgh derby was far better watching in recent seasons. And the first one they have fans back, obviously there's going to be a bit more needle in the game, and like, come on, it's a bit of water. Like, seriously, like, it's an absolute ready from the Celtic fans. And also, for all the glory they've had this season, just take the L. You know what I mean? Like, it's one defeat. He's 13 points ahead. Like, he's beaten them before in the league. Like, just take the L. I find it embarrassing, personally.
What about yourself, Ethan? You're going to throw an opinion out here, or you're going to be?
I think it's just so funny. I think it's so funny that you've got this, because like everyone from down south and that, when they think of Scottish football, they think of the Old Firm, and they all kind of think like, oh, that's a real rivalry. That's intense. That's the fan, they hate each other. It's a cultural thing as well, and they'll see like them burning the effigies, the chants about death and killing, and it's like all this intensity is built up, but then reality is he sprayed water on his fucking agenda. What's going on here, man? So yeah, I think I laid a comment just saying, to be fair, I'd be scared of water if I'd never bathed before as well. albeit a word a bit more clunky.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine some of the verbal abuse that Rangers bench was getting during that game as well? Yeah, I mean, he's scooshed a bit of water back. I get, like, we're talking about a police matter. I reckon you could file a few hate crimes from some of the stuff that had been shouted from the stands that day. You can't even imagine some of the stuff that had been shouted at that Rangers bench, as I said. A scoosh of water, come on. He was probably getting abused all game.
I mean, it's like I said about, I said Simon Murray, the celebration was iconic for an iconic derby. That's a pretty iconic win for Rangers. I can't remember the last time they won at Parkhead. And that's the moment that's going to be, I think, remember the most. I would expect to see that on a tifo now next time they play them, something like that.
No,
Tremendous.
definitely. I mean, it's one of those things. I say bring back shithouse rate football. We don't have enough of it nowadays, especially since there was a whole thing. The fans get locked out of the Old Firm. The last win at Parkhead was 2020 during COVID ball. So even it feels as though it doesn't count. There's no fans there that really relish it up. You're celebrating in front of just empty seats, or if you're lucky, cardboard cutouts. No wonder they went a wee bit mental with it. But as I say, but I relish it. Bring it back. Even do that in just daft games against Aberdeen. It's funny regardless, I think. But maybe that's just me.
Yeah.
It's the funniest thing I can remember happening for a while. Probably since when Lawrence Shanklin caught the pie and then ate it mid-celebration.
Actually.
Yeah. I think,
I remember that all too well.
Yeah,
the thing is, I think one argument that you could bring up, I guess, Ethan, that you've brought into there, that I was in that Hibs end that day, and like it was vile. Like some of the stuff that was getting thrown at him, it was outrageous. Like every time he got near that away end, there was like a sea of crystal vapes getting like chucked at him. Like honestly, every time he got near us, and that bottle opener that got thrown at him, like that is genuinely dangerous. So I think perhaps an argument could be made that you draw the line at any sort of physical contact between the players and fans. Okay, you say the verbal abuse is a fair game, but as soon as you sort of cross that barrier, you sort of open up potential for the world of trouble. Like it's hard enough policing these games, all the over policing that you see with the fans and all that. If that sort of behaviour is encouraged, then you could be in for a spot of ball. I mean, you've seen the scenes afterwards where the Celtic fans were trying to mount the bench and try to square goal. But I guess the argument could be made that as soon as you start crossing those lines, it starts to get dangerous for the players and that he's bringing it on. I don't know.
No, you're right, to be fair, and it's especially when you're talking about like people throwing vapes and like bottle openers in the park. Goes without saying, that's just pathetic behaviour. The players, end of the day, it's a game of football. It's 22 guys kicking a ball about. It's not going to pay your wage. Well, I suppose in our case, it actually does pay your wages, right? But in most people's cases, it doesn't pay the bills, doesn't give you a wage. It's not that deep. There's no need to get that riled up. You start throwing things with intention to cause harm. That's just pathetic and out of order.
Yeah, and you do need to have those boundaries as well. I mean, some people remember when the Hearts fan ran on the pitch and punched Neil Lennon in the face, and Neil Lennon getting coined at Tynecastle when he was a Hibs fan as well. So I sort of get if there was a sort of inquiry, if you like, to say, right, okay, we're going to we can't have that anymore. We need to draw boundaries. But
let the SFA do that. That's not a police matter. Like,
no, exactly. Well, it's just also like, why be a grass? You know what I mean?
There's that too. But speaking of mentioning the likes of Hibs, Ennis, draw there, how do you think that's going to line up for you guys pushing for top six? Do you feel as though there's any teams at the moment threatening yourselves overall? Do you feel a bit of a cold sweat towards anyone now, or do you think you guys have nailed it and that's it?
Well, Hibs mathematically can't come in the bottom six anymore, just with everyone playing each other. So it won't affect us there, given Dundee United and Aberdeen drop points. And I think, I think mathematically speaking, because teams play each other, Hibs now can't finish bottom six. But I guess Hibs have now got their sights on third because of how well they've done in that unbeaten run. I thought it was I think Killie away is always a tough place to go, just with the pitch.
Definitely.
We've always kind of struggled there. I think if you look back in the season, we'll probably look at it as a half decent away point. I thought Hibs had quite a difficult job after the Celtic game, where we really looked like we'd ran our last marathon. It was like the players had just hit a wall basically when it came to that game. So to pick ourselves back up and put in a really good performance, I think we controlled the game for about 60, 70 minutes of that match. So I think it was a good performance for Hibs. I don't think it's a bad point for anyone to go there. And I think if you see the other results like Dundee United, who I was really surprised that drop points against Dundee, to be honest with you. Listen, we were saying this off air. I've been really impressed with Dundee United. They were really good against Hibs, and I think on another night. They could have won that game if the goal had stood, for example. They look like they've really starting to command games with Alan Campbell in the middle of the park, but then they have an off week and Dundee United show them up. Likewise, Aberdeen, I couldn't see them not winning that game against St Johnstone, but there's no easy games in this league, so everyone's taking points off each other. So Hibs, they don't have to worry about top six anymore. They've done enough now, and I think credit to them with the unbeaten run. I think they deserve it. But Hibs now need to focus on third because our closest rivals, Hearts and Aberdeen, they've occupied that third place since Jack Ross was at Hibs. So, Hibs see themselves very much as in the battle to be that third biggest club in Scotland. So they need to start delivering at least once every few seasons. So they'll very much have eyes on third place, and I think fair enough with how well they've done recently.
Yeah, it's Hibs' race to lose, certainly. And I think a point at Rugby Park is always a good point, regardless of the fact that it was a late goal from Fraser Murray to obviously prevent the win for Hibs. Yeah, I think Hibs certainly look like the ones in the box seat. Hearts could still finish in the bottom six. Aberdeen just struggling to get the rhythm. And I think that's the main thing as well. Aberdeen didn't gain any points as well. They had a stalemate at St Johnstone, so that works in Hibs' favour. Other results have went their way.
I think Hibs fans are quite humble. I think with how badly it started and how much a mess the club was over the summer, with everything going on, there was a bit of tension between our new investors and the board, for example. And we weren't really getting to use the money that was being made available to us. And I think Hibs fans, they've got a lot of. I mean, they're really behind David Gray. He's a club legend, as we all know, and I think they've got his respect regardless of how we finish. To be honest with you, like, he's got us back in the top six from being the very bottom of the league in November, I think it was. I think Hibs fans will be pretty happy regardless. I think we'll probably want to avoid getting beat off the Jambos, for example, if they finish top six. Apart from that, they'll be pretty appreciative of the team regardless of where we finish. We'd like a European place, of course. Hibs are certainly in the driving seat, but I still think it's anyone to take. They're only a point ahead of Aberdeen, for example, and I think Hearts and Dundee United will fancy finishing strong to try and pip it off them as well.
Now you're spot on, because I've just been having a look at the exact points here. So it's yourselves third, 44 points, Aberdeen fourth with 43, Dundee United in fifth with 41, Hearts sixth and 39, Motherwell seventh with 38, and then St Mirren with 35, as well as County in ninth with 35 as well. It's quite tasty at this time of the season because, as you said yourself, it seems to be middle of the table that's playing each other all at once. Our next game is Aberdeen up at Pittodrie next week. After that, we've then got Killie away, and then we've got Hearts at home on the 12th. So I know from a Motherwell side of things, all games that are technically winnable. Rugby Park game, I would take a draw, to be fair, because how hard the place Kilmarnock is to go to, but it does kind of seem like that 5th and 6th place is not determined yet, because all it takes is United to drop, one more game, and then it's anyone's race between ourselves at Motherwell, Hearts, and depending how games go for St Mirren, they might shoot up as well. Do you guys want to...
The top six race always kind of goes down to the wire before the split. It was that way last season. Yeah, and I think this is going to be the same again. I think when Motherwell play Hearts, that will be a top six deciding game. That's just going to be pretty much winner takes all. I don't know how the league standings is right now. If Motherwell maybe just above Hearts or
just below.
They're just above us by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah, like is it goal difference? Is it joint points?
So they're literally 1 point ahead, but they do have the better goal difference. So
yeah.
It's also a fickle league, to be honest with you. Confidence plays a massive part. So Dundee, I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Dundee United took an absolute nosedive now and went 3-4 games without a win. With the way this season's gone, if you look at how Hibs were at the start, for instance, and then a bit of confidence and uptake in form, and all of a sudden they're third in the league. Aberdeen, they've had a crazy roller coaster season with the form they've been on. Hearts have had their difficulties as well. So, it could well be that, for example, a Dundee United just take a tumble and they don't win again before the split and fall out of there. Likewise, you've talked about the fixtures, Jenna. If Motherwell find a bit of belief from somewhere and get a couple wins, that might find them in the top six as well. I think Hearts they're at Celtic Park. I'd imagine they're going to get a doing after Celtic have just been beat off Rangers. They'll want to prove a point. And then they've got to play Dundee United as well. And that's before they come to Fir Park. So, yeah, it's all about confidence, and I think there's loads of twists and turns still happening this season.
There's a fear. Sorry, on you go, Jenna.
No, I was just going to say, and it's your spot on, because I've been having a look here to see who's playing who next. St Mirren's next game is 29th, Kilmarnock at home, then Dundee away on the 5th for yourself, Ethan, and then Ross County at home on the 12th. So that's quite a few for St Mirren as well. It could go either way. Then looking at Hearts, they've got Celtic at Parkhead on the 29th, United at home on the 6th, us obviously on the 12th, and then they've got the game against Aberdeen on the 19th. Is it? It is. I just can't see because I don't have my glasses on. So a lot of different games there. I mean, obviously the Hearts one, that's different, but overall, do you want to try and put a prediction out that he's going to be bold, or are you just going to wait until that final game before the split before you put your necks on the line? Might be a bit of controversy here tonight, clearly.
I think Hearts will finish bottom six, and I think Motherwell will get in the top six. I think Motherwell will win that game at Fir Park. I think Hearts in the run, they've got to play Celtic as well. Or yeah, that sounds about right.
It's their next game at Celtic Park.
Yeah, I think that'll prove to be just a bit too costly for them, given how narrow it is. I can see Hearts missing out. Motherwell getting the top six. I think Dundee United will stay in the top six. They have a fear in their camp that they think that they might fall out. I mean, right now, you look at the run Dundee have been on. After that one at Tannadice, we've now won more games this year than United have. So they have, in terms of their form, it might even be as simple as they've had to tinker with the loss of Kevin Holt, and it's just kind of maybe thrown them off shape a little bit. And there's a whole argument as well that Jim Goodwin, when it's a big game, he has the tendency to kind of maybe overthink it. His record in big games is terrible. I still expect them to kind of just get over the line. So I don't share the as much as I would love it to a degree. I don't see them taking that full on nosedive. But yeah, I'll back Motherwell to go up into the top six, and I think Hearts will just miss out.
What about yourself, Ennis?
Yeah, I think Hearts might be just a wee bit too strong. Now I'm feeling confident, having predicted 2-1 in the Edinburgh derby last time. I'll feel confident in my prediction here. I think Hearts might just. Sorry, Jay. I think they might just have a wee bit too much for Motherwell. I think the boy Kabangu up top, he's got goals now. He looks handy. He could have scored in that last Edinburgh derby quite easily. I think they've got the young boy up top. He's a player that the boy that got called up to the Scotland side. So Wilson.
I know the young boy you're talking about.
I think they'll be too strong. I actually expect Hearts to probably finish fifth. I reckon Hibs and Aberdeen it'll go to the wire for third. I think. I think Hearts will finish fifth, and I'm going to go Dundee United sixth. But I think it'll be close. I think it could be one of those seasons where Motherwell end up with more points than sixth place, for instance. But yeah, I think Hearts might edge it. I think they might.
So I'm not sure when this will get uploaded, but at the time of recording, for anyone that's interested, the Scotland game is about 10 minutes from kick-off. Team line-up has been announced, so obviously we don't know how the results went. Again, just depends when this gets posted. Before the game kicks off, so we can look back at this and laugh next week. Any score predictions for tonight, gents?
Who's in the starting lineup? Just
Craig Gordon in goals, Anthony Ralston, Andy Robertson's captain, Scott McTominay, Grant Hanley, John McGinn, Billy Gilmore, Shea Adams, John Suter, Lewis Ferguson, and Kenny McLean.
Lewis Ferguson starting. Okay. Kenny McLean.
I know.
How are they fitting all those centre mids in there? I think that's probably not huge. I mean, we're missing McGinn, aren't we? Is he playing?
No, he's playing. He's playing.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear him. Yeah, I like to see Lewis Ferguson in there. I think he's a big addition. I think I think it's been a long time coming. He plays. John Suter, I think, is a really good centre half. I think he's definitely a stick on for centre half for Scotland if he can stay fit. Yeah, I don't know. We still feel. I don't know about you, but we feel a player or two light. I don't know what it is, but I feel like Che Adams. I don't know a huge amount about how he's doing in Torino, but you just feel like there's just a bit of quality in the final third that we're missing. I don't know. I back us to do well. I think we'll get a draw tonight, but I just feel like we're missing something in the final third. I don't know what it is.
No, that's fair enough. And what about yourself, Ethan? You going to throw out a prediction or any thoughts in the lineup?
Yes, same as the preview. I'm going to be an asshole. I'm going to say 0-0. I'm going to say anticlimactic.
Yeah, I fancy 0-0.
Yeah.
It'll either be that or we end up somehow scraping a goal like the 89th minute and
Yeah.
47th second, knowing Scotland. But as always, gents, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for tuning in to Sammy's Pizzeria. Please keep an eye on all of our socials to find out when the next episode's coming out. And as always, stay tasty, my friends.